This is the TQI steering endpoint setting bug. The hardware that I've got is the Bluetooth enabled 2-channel TQI radio without the 7030 switch. It's a 6533 TSM receiver, and I've got two identical 2075 servos. The steering channel 1 is plugged into this servo, and channel 2 for the throttle is controlling this servo. Okay, just show you the firmware versions that are installed. This is the application build and the attached firmware devices. So if we turn left, you'll see it around this point, the 2075 stops moving, and the 2085 will move a bit further. But then if we take the endpoint from 100 up to 120, you'll see the 2085 can travel for the full range that the Traxxas radio gear is capable of. So you'll see as soon as I move that wheel, the servo moves, meaning that the potentiometers in the radio are calibrated full range. Now I'm going to go through the throttle endpoint setting process first to show how it should work. We hold menu for 3 seconds, enter programming, hit it again, 2 green flashes, channel setup, we press set, we'll get 1 green flash, we press menu again, 2 for channel 2, then we press set, we'll get 1 red flash, menu again, subtrim, and 3, we're in endpoint setting. Now I pull it to the position I want it to end at, and we're going to do about 50%. Press set, and you'll see the servo jump there. Now that's really important because that's the point where it remaps full travel of the trigger to the new reduced travel of the servo. Now again, on reverse, I'll go about 50%. Now watch the servo when I push set and set the endpoint. It jumps back because it's resetting full range to that endpoint. So what it does now is I can move the trigger, the full range of its travel, and it will only produce that around 50% travel on the servo, but most importantly it remaps that reduced range to the full range of the control input. So you can see right up to the end of the trigger the servo is moving. And now we'll go through and set the steering endpoint. Press and hold menu, 3 seconds, press it again, second option, channel setup, press set. Now we want channel 1, so we got that single green flash. We'll press set, we'll press menu twice more, subtrim, now we're in endpoints, 3 red flashes. Now I'm going to move this to about 50%, so you can see here we're at the full 100%. I'm going to move it to about 50% and push set, and watch the servo, it won't jump. See, so the endpoint's been set at 50%, but the reduced travel wasn't remapped here. So now you can see as I move this to full travel, it's just deadband. The reduced travel will operate as normal up to that set point, and then the servo will stop its travel, but that reduced range has not been remapped to the full travel. So now there's deadband. You can see that it's set 100% here, so even at 100% you can see the deadband on the right hand travel. So what we'll do, we'll go in, we'll set about 50% and hit set, and watch again, the servo won't jump, and if I move it past that point, that's all deadband now on the steering wheel. The endpoints are set, but at each end of the steering wheel travel is just dead space, which is not what you want. And to go back to the throttle again to see the difference, you can see it's remapped all the way up to the end of the trigger travel, both directions. That's the normal operation. This is faulty. We're going to go through that whole process again on the Link app. We'll go to a HOS. Now first off we'll go into drive effects, so everything's zeroed out there. We'll go into garage, we'll go into channel setup, we'll go to throttle. I know from doing it previously we need about 85%. We'll set the brake about the same. So you can see straight away this reduced travel has been remapped to the full travel of the trigger. We'll take it down further, 50%. Full travel of the trigger, right at the end of the trigger movement, the servo is still moving, both directions. That's the expected behavior. Go back into steering. So we set 100%. Remember, this is the servo that's in the HOS. This is the HOS profile. We will drop back that left endpoint to about 85. And you can see there, it's still getting its full travel. But, as is the problem, you can see the end of that last 15 plus 20, so there's 35% of this steering wheel travel is deadband at normal operating settings. The right is the same, again under normal operating settings, and to accentuate it we're going to put it down to 50%. You can see the servo has a reduced range, it's set the endpoint, but it hasn't remapped that reduced travel to the full steering input, and the complete rest of that steering wheel travel is deadband. Same on the right. We've shown multiple methods and the behavior is consistent throughout all of them. The throttle channel endpoint setting works as expected, remapping the reduced travel to the full travel of the trigger input, whereas the steering reduces the range, doesn't remap it to the full steering input, and the result is deadband at the end of your travel. Okay, here's something really weird. If you reverse the channel, and if we're working on the right range and right endpoint, if you set the left endpoint to 120, then if we turn right on the steering wheel, again past the 90%, still has the deadband, but if we reduce that to the max 90% throw, so you can see that's remapped it right to the end of the steering wheel travel. So as soon as I move that from full travel, the servo horn is moving. And further, reduce the right endpoint, and it still works perfectly. Now, it only does that on 120% left endpoint. If I change that back to, say, 100, you can see we're on deadband again, turning right again. Back to 120, works properly. Now here's where it gets really weird. I can reduce the steering wheel travel to about 50%, and as a reminder, we're turning right, we've set the right endpoint, but now we're going to adjust the left endpoint, and it's adjusting the right hand steering throw. And if we drag it down really low, it just goes crazy. So this is the left endpoint I'm adjusting, holding right turn on the steering wheel with the right endpoint set. And again, set it right up to 120, and the right endpoint works exactly as it should, all the way to the end of the steering wheel. Again, only when reversed. So there's something definitely wrong. This is a basic LaTrax receiver. Same radio, same firmware, bound to that LaTrax receiver. Now the endpoints work properly. So take it back to 50%, it's taken the endpoint down. As soon as I move the steering wheel from the end of its travel, the servo horn will move. So it's remapped that 50% to the full steering wheel movement. Same on right, take it down to 30%, all the way to the end of the steering wheel movement. It's remapped that reduced travel back to the full movement of the steering wheel as normal. So, if we set these down to 30%, that's exactly how endpoints should work.